So I want you to listen carefully. There are 30 cows in a field and 28 chickens. How many didn't? If you are confused right now, then that is because of homonyms, and I promise that by the end of this lesson, you will not be confused anymore. So let's talk about homonyms like these two words right here, flower and flower. So homonyms are words that are pronounced the same, or maybe they're spelled the same as another word, but they have a different meaning. And flower, you can hear that they are pronounced the same, but you can see that they are not spelled the same and they do not have the same meaning. All of the words that I'm going to teach you in this lesson are like this. To be exact, they are called homophones. But homophones, those are a type of homonym. I'm also giving you the phonetic spelling and the IPA so that you can actually see the pronunciation. I think that'll make it a little bit easier for you. And I'll tell you the different meanings as well. And if we're talking about this flower, well, then that is one that you might find in a garden or in a park. It has a very pleasant smell. And this other flower, well, that is referring to that fine powder that you might use for cooking, like if you're baking a cake. Then we have these two words right here, addition and addition. All right, good words to know. So the words have 3 syllables, and that first and third syllable, you can hear that schwa sound, that sound. The T-I-O-N is pronounced as shun, and the syllable stress comes before it on the second syllable, addition. If we're talking about this addition, well, then we're referring to adding numbers together, like in math. And this other addition would be talking about like a book or a newspaper or a magazine being published. And there might be different additions. Then we have click and click. So this first click, I think, is more common. It's the verb to click on something. Think about a computer. You might click on a link. I hope all of you click on that like button and show me a little bit of love. The next click, that Q-U-E, it has that K sound, but it's referring to a small, exclusive group of people. And what I would say is maybe think about like high school. That's how I think it's commonly used, talking about young people. They have their exclusive group of friends, and you might refer to it as a clique. I don't think this word is often used to reference or talk about adults. Then we have these two homonyms right here, patience and patience. These words have 2 syllables. The stress is on that first syllable. And notice both words, they have that T-I-E, which is pronounced sh, with that schwa sound. Patience. And in this word, patience, the T is going to be silent. And this refers to, well, a person who is under medical care or getting some type of medical treatment. And this patience refers to the ability to wait and not be annoyed by something, especially if there is a delay. And you could say somebody has patience. Mousse and, you guessed it, mousse. All right, these words are homonyms, and you may be familiar with this moose, that large mammal that's part of the deer family. And this other mousse is talking about that creamy and foamy dessert, and it's actually a French word because the dessert, it comes from France. And in French, it means like froth or foamy, which is what gives it its second meaning in English, because you could talk about mousse referring to a foamy substance that somebody could use for styling their hair. Like right now, I did not use any mousse. I did use a little bit of gel, but not mousse. The next set of homonyms, meddle and meddle. So both of these words, it's going to end with that dark L, that L, and you're not going to release it at the end. But these words are homonyms in American English, mostly because if we're talking about that T in meddle, it's going to be a flap T, which is going to sound more like a soft D sound. And the reason that we're going to use a flap T is because it comes between 2 vowel sounds. So I'm from the United States, so I would pronounce it as meddle, which then means it's a homonym with the verb to meddle. So meddle, the noun, which is the one with the T, is talking about an element like gold or silver that is generally hard and strong. And meddle, the verb to meddle, it means that you are getting involved in a situation in which, well, you have not been asked to be involved and to share your opinion. And you could hear somebody talk about meddling in somebody else's business or meddling in someone else's personal affairs, to meddle. Then we have horse and horse. So this horse, very well known, the animal that people can ride around on. I don't know if you have ever ridden on a horse, but this next horse, this is a good word. Hopefully you're building your vocabulary. It allows you to be a little more specific because it's talking about the sound of a person's voice. So if somebody sounds hoarse, it means that their voice sounds a bit rough, possibly because they have a cold. So you could hear somebody inquire and say, hey, your voice, it sounds a little hoarse. Do you have a cold? Are you feeling okay? Then we have principle and principle. These two words, I think, are commonly confused. So hopefully we'll clear this up right now. Of course, both words sound the same. So they have 3 syllables. The stress is on the first syllable. That second and third syllable, you'll hear that schwa sound. Principle. Principle. So these words are confusing because they have multiple meanings. And I think this is especially important in your writing because, of course, you want to make sure that you are using the correct one. So if we're talking about this principle as a noun, it refers to a person who is the leader of a school. A school has a principal. If we're going to use this word as an adjective, well, then it just means that something that is very important. I could talk about the principal reason for doing something. If we're talking about this principle as a noun, it could refer to like a basis of conduct, and you say that someone has principles. Or it could be used to refer to like a set of rules that explain how we should do something or what's happening, that you want to follow these principles. Then we have guerrilla and guerrilla. These words have 3 syllables. That first and third syllable, you'll hear that schwa sound, and the stress is on the second syllable. Guerrilla, guerrilla. And this guerrilla refers to that giant ape. Perhaps you have seen a gorilla at the zoo. And this other guerrilla, it's a noun. It's talking about like a member of an unofficial military group. And the group of people together, you would say they are guerrillas. The next set of homonyms, core and core. And I'm sure that one word you're thinking, what? Wait a second, that sounds nothing like the way it's spelled. Well, the reason for that, it's like you have that P and S. You don't even hear it. The other thing I would say about this word is that it is singular. You see that S, I think people might think that it is a plural noun, but it's singular. So let me explain why this is pronounced core. So the origin of this word, it comes from Latin, corpus, which means body. Now this word was borrowed from French, as well as the pronunciation core, which is why you don't hear the P and the S. So if we're talking about this core, it refers to the central part of something like the Earth's core. And this core refers to a military organization, kind of like that body, that organization, that body, the Army Corps. Then we have sweet and sweet. I'm sure you may like this one word like I do. Sweet, it is talking about a flavor, something that's sugary. I really enjoy foods that are sweet. And this other sweet, that S-U-I, it is pronounced like sweet, and that is because it's another word that's been borrowed from French, and it refers to a set of connected rooms, like that you might find at a hotel suite. Then we have these 3 words, C's, C's, and C's, okay? You have that long E, and it ends with that Z sound. So C's, well, this is just talking about like the ocean. This sees, the verb, to look at something, and really talking about it in the third person, like he sees or she sees. And then this other verb, to seize something, means to grab a hold of it suddenly. Okay, so now that you have a much better understanding of homonyms, let's go back to that riddle I told you at the beginning of the lesson. There are 30 cows in a field and 28 chickens. How many didn't? Think about which word is a homonym. There are 30 cows in a field and 28 chickens. Okay? The word 8 is a homonym. We could be talking about, well, the number 8, or the verb to eat in the past tense, which is 8. And that was the word I was saying all along. There are 30 cows in a field and 28 chickens. How many didn't? The answer, of course, is 10. I know you're probably thinking, well, wait a second, cows don't eat chickens. Of course they don't. It's just a riddle. But it's a fun little way to introduce and talk about homonyms. If you enjoyed this lesson and learned something new, please hit that like button. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time. So long.